Hi, welcome back to class. Let's take this example as we use it to understand how to apply nodal analysis to DC circuit. Let's identify the nodes. Here is my first node. I'll call this node 1. I'll call this node 2. And obviously, this will be my reference node. Next is to identify the flow of current in this circuit. The current will leave this 6 amps, obviously, and come to the junction in here at node 1, then split to I, which is what we're actually looking for. Then this other branch, let's tag that I1, and let's tag this I2, then split down into this other branch. And obviously, I would like to tag this I3. At node 1, the sum of current entering node 1, which is equals to 6 amps, is equals to the sum of current leaving node 1, that is I plus I2 plus I1. So that my 6 amps, or first and foremost, let's define our I2. My I2 is equals to 3I, and define my I1. I know that the voltage, I'll take the loop from from node 1 V1 to node 2 at V2. So that node 1, my V1 minus 4I I1 minus V2 is equals to 0. So that V1 minus V2 over 4 is equals to I1. Also, let's define for I. My I is the same thing as V1 over 8. We know that V1 is equals to I8. So that V1 over 8 is same thing as I. Now I can begin to substitute in my equation. So that to substitute in that equation, my 6 ohms, my 6 amps will be the same thing as I. I is V1 over 8 plus I2, that is 3I, that's 3 of V1 over 8, since I is V1 over 8, plus I1. I1 is V1 minus V2 over 4. Now looking at this equation, I prefer to multiply through by 8. So that 6 times 8 will be 48 is equals to V1 over 8, that's V1 plus 3V1 plus 2V1 minus 2V2 minus 2V2. So that 48 will be the same thing as V1 plus 3V1 plus 2V1, that's 6V1 minus 2V2. Now, if you look at this, there's a common factor of 2 in between all of them. So I can reduce this equation to 24 is equals to 3V1 minus V2 to reduce the complexity of the equation. Let's start this equation 1. Now, for my second node at node 2, we obviously know that at node 2, my I1 is going to flow to node 2, I2, which is equal to 3I, will flow to node 2, and I3 will leave node 2. So that I1 plus I2 will equals I3. Now, I1, we know that I1 is the same thing. Okay, let's define for I1. Let's define for I1 at this node. But although we've seen for I1, we know that I1 is the same thing as V1 over 8. No, this is I, not I1, sorry. This is I that is equal to V1 over 8. We know that I1 is equals to V1 minus V2 over 4. And we know that I2 is the same thing as 3I. So we left to define for I3. And obviously, I3 is the same thing as, at node 2, I3 is the same thing as V2 over 6. Now we can substitute in this equation. So we'll have V1 minus V2 over 4, which is I1, plus 3I I1 we say plus 3i. I2 is 3i plus 3i. I is the same thing as v1 over 8. That's 3 into v1 over 8 be the same thing as I3 which is v2 over 6. Now we have equations in terms of 4, 8, and 6. I prefer to multiply through by 12 so that this becomes 3v1 minus 3v2 plus multiplying this by 12. That's 4. I'll be left with 3. 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 over 2v1 is equals to 2v2. Multiplying 1 over 6 by 12. Now, so that this is 3v1 and this is 9 over 4. 9 over 4 is something as 4.5. 9 over 2 is something as 4.5. That's 4.5 plus 3, that's 7.5. 7.5 v1 is equals to, collecting like terms, 3v2 goes to the other side, becomes 5v2. 3 plus 2, that's 5. 5v2. Now, I can interpret my 7.5 as 15 over 2. v1 is equals to v2. Let's open another slide. Let's take another slide. We have that 15 over 2 v1 is equals to 5 v2. Now I'll multiply both sides by 5, by 1 over 5. This by 1 over 5 and this by 1 over 5. So that I'm saying that 3 over 2 v1 is equals to v2. Now let's get back to our first equation. Our first equation says 24 is equals to 3v1 minus v2. 24 is equals to 3v1 minus v2. Now in place of v2, I can substitute 3 over 2v1. So that 24 will be equals to 3v1 minus 3 over 2v1. That means 3 over 2 is something as 1.5. 3 minus 1.5, obviously that's 1.45. So that's 24 is equals to 3 over 2, which is 1.5 again, v1. Let's multiply both sides by 3 by 2 over 3. 2 over 3 cancels 3 over 2 here, becomes 0. We'll multiply this side also by 2 over 3. 3 here is 1, 3 here is 8. 2 times 8, that's equals to 16. That means my v1 is equals to 16 volts, which is equals to v1. Now we know that I, which is what we're actually looking for, I is the same thing as, I got the definition for I the other time. I is same thing as v1 over 8. So that's my I now, which is equals to v1 over 8 with the same thing as 16 over 8. 8 here is 1, 16 here is 2, which is equals to 2 amps. My I authoritatively is equals to 2 amps. With this, I hope you understand how to work with nodal analysis using both dependent and independent sources. Thank you for staying with us and see you in our next class.